Coming to you live from inside a blanket fort, it's me. Obviously, hi. I felt the need to be inside a blanket fort for a while. It hasn't been topping my list of needs. Eating, sleeping, watching Gilmore Girls. I've had other situations that I've needed to be a part of. I wanted a cheery and comfortable setting because I'm very much attracted to delightful things. If I had the accessibility to have a band of puppies surrounding me right now, please understand that would be happening. Besides that, I'm about to talk about a rather unpleasant thing, and I wanted to balance that out with this environment. Again, imagine puppies. Similarly to many a person's depression, I tend to have mine in phases. I don't have those phases as severely or as regularly now, and the longevity of those phases has been crushed significantly through 8 years of self-care, self-awareness, and professional care and support. Nowadays, the longest a phase would last me would be a few days. It's the equivalent of a Freaks and Geeks binge watch, but instead of a young Jason Segel, I just get a heavy, muddled head. I know which one I'd prefer. I want to talk about my most recent phase because I feel within that there was a lesson in disguise. Depression was wearing its fake nose and moustache and glasses, and I'm just taking all of that off, looking it straight in the eye and seeing it for what it is. So let's get into it. I felt really weird on a Saturday. That happens a lot. I have days where I just kind of feel casually anxious, I suppose. My anxiety lives differently to my depression. It's more like the neighbour in an old school family sitcom who always visits, acts like they own the place and are part of it, and just makes a general nuisance of itself. Much like the family in said sitcom, I would usually, eventually, shrug it off, roll my eyes, and just try and get on with my day as delightfully as possible. And usually, once the day ends, I have the capability of putting a line under it. The next day was a Sunday, and I felt weird. It was a different kind of weird to what I had felt the day before. It somehow felt heavier, but at the same time less frantic in my mind. It felt a lot more rational. I suddenly didn't know why I was doing anything anymore. Very sincerely, I was very confused about my life choices and just everything for no reason. And it was such an abrupt change of feeling that it was confusing and worrying, especially because I'm someone who's quite passionate and driven. I woke up simply not caring for the life I had very much and not caring about the one that I was working towards. And that realisation didn't leave me feeling crushed, just a little puzzled. I texted my friend about it, just stating what I was treating as fact, that I was indifferent about my life. Anything to do with my health or my well-being just didn't really matter. I didn't question that line of opinion. Instead, I treated it as fact. She responded saying to me that it sounded like it was my depression. And it obviously was. Like, saying it back and thinking about it now, obviously it was. But that's the thing, in all my experience with it, all my knowledge of how mine is personally, in that moment, I didn't know. I didn't know that I was unwell. And that's so dangerous. That's so scary. That it still has such a high level of trickery. It fooled me into believing that it was right and that I was wrong, that everything I wanted was wrong, everything I previously felt was completely incorrect. And I was thinking all these really toxic things, and it was making me think them in like a reasonable mind. I stated really horrible things to myself as though they were just how it was. I'm just so shocked that someone had to tell me that I didn't seem well. I kind of thought I'd guessed out all my symptoms by now. In hindsight, I know they were my symptoms, but that moment just caught me, and it wasn't going to let go, to be honest. From there on, I treated it, appropriately enough, like the illness that it is. I told people that I'm not feeling well. I told myself that I wasn't feeling well as to not beat myself up about it. I tried to do all the self-care I could, which admittingly wasn't too much, and I thankfully had people to look after me as well. And obviously this isn't an instant fix. The next day, being a Monday, I was close to breaking down for most moments of it. Tuesday rolled around and I still felt pretty weird, but by late afternoon, I was somehow phasing myself out of it, or it was phasing out of me. Like, I don't really know what the power dynamic was at that point. It's very possible that someone watching this could be in a similar phase. They may not know that they're in it, and they may not be giving themselves the compassion that they so rightly would were it any other illness. I'm just going to list off my symptoms from the laptop. I was shaking a lot, so I was wearing long sleeves pretty often to try and cover up the fact that I was shaking. I was moving slowly. My body felt very heavy, and every time I tried to do something, it took a lot of effort. My mind was very loud and panicked, and I couldn't really figure out what I was thinking from moment to moment. I felt nauseous and lost and very scared. I was crying a lot. I had to keep checking my breath and just making sure that I carried on taking breaths. I lost appetite. I slept a lot, but despite that, I was completely drained. I think that's basically it. just that, like, and those symptoms would do the rounds for those 4 days. The most important thing now is it passed. It was a phase of not feeling well and not feeling safe in my own body, and it passed. When it happens, when you're in those terrible moments, that phrase isn't a note in the noise of depression, nor should it be. If you were snotting buckets, someone hands you a mere tissue and chucks you the phrase, "This too shall pass," well, quite frankly, they can fuck off. Because Steve, I know this will pass, but at the moment, my insides feel like I could actually become the once fictitious bogeyman, and you talking about how okay I may be in the future isn't really making this moment any less gross. Now I'm snotty and angry, you cretin. I only use this as an example because in traditional conversations, a cold is something that is given so much sympathy. I'm not in the business of ranking illnesses, however, depression would beat a cold like The Rock would beat Kurt from Gilmore Girls in an arm wrestle. For me, this overall lesson is more than 8 years in the making. If I've shortened that time for anyone in any way, then this video is fine. Even if this is a 10-minute video, I'd make it a very terrible vlog duration for me, but also quite a snappy life lesson. So hopefully balance is restored. Comic genius.